Hello all and welcome to the official FanTeam podcast brought to you by FanTeam, the biggest daily fantasy site in Europe. My name is Andrew and today I'm joined once again by fantasy football expert Mark McGettigan, aka the FPL General. How's it going, Mark?
I'm good, Andrew. Good to be back to preview another monster. Been enjoying FanTeam the last couple of weeks. Got stuck into the Champions League as well, so had a decent start with a couple of teams in that one. So that's quite exciting. But yeah, the monsters are always my favorite. So this is the bread and butter of FanTeam.
Good stuff. And how is your fantasy season going overall? And don't be modest, because I know in FPL you're in the top kind of 2 or 3k, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, do you know what? I started out the start of the season playing maybe 4 or 5 formats: FPL, FanTeam, Sky, Scotland. So yeah, probably 4. And I've narrowed it down now. I've stopped playing Sky because I felt it was a bit of a compromise. I didn't like having, 2 different teams. FanTeam goes nicely because you can manage it quite similar to your FPL team anyway. Fantasy Scotland, I was winning it for a long time, slipped up last couple of weeks. I'm still in the top 10, so if I can get a top 10 finish, I'll be happy. Fan team, a couple of teams are doing well in the season long, and FPL 3K, I think 2.8. So good position to be in.
Very, very nice. So you'll be chasing a 4th top 500 finish, which I think would be unprecedented. Yeah, I'll keep.
I'm not sure if I've seen that before. I'll need to find out, but I'll need to just try and get it myself first, and then I'll see if it's been done before.
Absolutely. So obviously, you won the weekly monster in Gameweek 18 this week. Chris Tan from Fantasy Football Hub. He was leading all the way through.
I was following it. It was a painful finish.
Unbelievable. So he had Veltman. So when Brighton conceded, he dropped down a couple of places. When Veltman scored, of all players, Veltman scores, and Chris goes top by, I think it was a point or a point and a half. And I was on the messenger with him. Oh my goodness, and he's really excited because he was on for being €7,500, and then obviously Benteke pops up in the 95th minute or something ridiculous.
Of all players, of all teams, Crystal Palace,
and it dumped him down to 7th place. So he still has a really nice payout. I think it was €1,300, but from being from being seconds away to 7.5k and finishing it, I think he was a bit disappointed, you can imagine. I cashed a bit on the weekend as well. Personally, so I entered a couple of teams and I did okay. Nothing massive. I kind of doubled my money, but I did work out as well. If I'd have had a clean sheet off Brighton, or if Brighton would have won, so you get the impact points and things like that, I would have done very, very well. So while I was kind of following Chris and his exploits, it actually cost me a few quid as well. But this is what it is. It was one of those you target at the start of the week and think Brighton home to Palace, Brighton very tight at the back, playing well, attacking well, taking loads of shots. So I think I had something like Dunk, Mopai, and Trossard into the final game. So any kind of goal, any clean sheet would have really helped. But
Yeah, do you know what? That's the beauty of FanTeam, the payout structure, because at least with Chris, it was disappointing, but he still got something out of it.
Still had massive return on investment. Yeah.
My game week last week on FanTeam, I think I put 5 teams into the monster, and none of them did very well. It was a disappointing week on FanTeam for me, but all of them, got me something back. Exactly. And I think I put 100 quid in, got 100 quid back. So at least I've got 5 more teams now to go again this week. So even when things don't go well, there's a good chance you'll get another bite of the cherry the following week.
Okay, so for our YouTube watchers, please remember to click the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and to press the like button if you enjoy our content. So our feature tournament for this podcast and video is the Game Week 26 Weekly Monster, which has a prize pool this week of a massive €75,000. We'll be running through the game week's applicable fixtures and sharing our entries with you. So our watchers and listeners are aware what it is. It's very similar to the free hit chip in Fantasy Premier League. We basically pick the best 11 players for the game week that you think will score the most points. So the basic rules are you build a squad of 11 players, must include at least 1 goalkeeper, 3 defenders, 2 midfielders and a forward. You can select up to a maximum of 3 players from any one Premier League team. You have 105 million budget to build your 11-man team. You can make unlimited changes until the kickoff of the first game, which is Saturday, 3 o'clock UK time this week. You pick a captain, a vice captain. The vice captain scores double points if your captain doesn't play, and players are priced in accordance with match odds, and the safety net applies. So as Mark found out a few weeks ago, which helped him scoop, was it five €5,000 and more, Mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, five. Yeah, I think I won 5 in the Monster, and then I won maybe 500 in the smaller one as well.
When Joel Ward, I'll remember it forever. It's these names,
So
Ward, Veltman, Benteke, all these names, that actually, Ramsdale, exactly, that, actually do it. So Ward came in for Van Aals, I think it was, wasn't he? And his clean sheet helped Mark £5,000. So if a player doesn't play who you pick, you'll be automatically replaced by a cheaper player from the same club and position, and player prices will not change. So for those watching on YouTube, the point scoring matrix is now on screen. As you can see, it's very similar to the season-long fan team game and indeed the FPL game. Mark, I just asked, there was something really interesting this week. We just touched on it, before we came live out Aston Villa team leagues, and fantasy football just becoming much more mainstream, over the last year or two. What were your thoughts on what happened this week?
I've had the microwave hasn't stopped. I've had popcorn on for the last couple of days. I've just been sitting back, laughing it all up and enjoying it because, people like myself and yourself, when we work in fantasy football, it's great when it gets publicity, even if it's negative. Obviously the rumours in the team leagues was a bit of an issue. But it's just great to see it. All the, Sky Sports, The Athletic, BBC, everyone talking about it. Even Pep Guardiola's question about FPL, pretends he doesn't know what it is after trolling us for the last couple of seasons. So yeah, it's what a genius idea that FPL Insider Twitter account was, and I'm sure he can't quite believe what it's become. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Will they ban all the players and stuff like that? So yeah, very interesting.
So for those who didn't see it, there is a Twitter handle called @FPL Insider, which basically tracks the movements of all the transfers of a lot of Premier League, players, coaches, and physios. And what happened last week? I think there was 4 players in the Aston Villa first team squad, or a physio or something like that. I think it was including the physio. The physio transferred Jack Grealish out of their fantasy league team before the deadline, which obviously led to a lot of kind of rumours. And led to people making similar sort of transfers. But Dean Smith, the Aston Villa manager, wasn't happy at all because it obviously leaked the fact that Grealish was injured. So yeah, fantasy football is just becoming so mainstream, and I honestly think it's only a matter of months, maybe a couple of years before we see fantasy football pundits on Sky Sports, on BT Sport, talking about the kind of fantasy elements of matches, much as they do in America, in things like the NFL and things like that.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be involved in fantasy. I think it's massive already. 8 million players, but it's only going one direction. I think on the matter of Dean Smith being fuming as well, I think the reason he was fuming was because he left Grealish in his weekly monster team. That's what it was.
Yeah,
when all of us savvy managers didn't pick him for the monster.
He picked him in his fan team monster team, and then instead he managed to get El Ghazi via the 16 head or something like that. Okay, so there are 3 full round weekly monster tournaments every game week. This week has a prize pool of €12,500 with a guaranteed first prize of €1,500, which you can enter for as little as €2. For this week, there's also a free entry to this competition for new fan team users. If you do fancy seeing what all the fuss is about, head to FanTeam.com, register and play that tournament for free. There is a high roller tournament if you want to play for big money, but our feature tournament for this podcast is the €75,000 prize pool game, with a guaranteed €7,500 first prize for just a €20 entry. So the teams we pick can be used across all monster tournaments. Again, just a reminder, to enter all fan team contests, you must be over 18 and be gambleaware.org. So this game week, we have 9 Premier League matches applicable for this contest. We have West Brom versus Brighton, Leeds versus Aston Villa, Newcastle against Wolves, Leicester play Arsenal, Crystal Palace against Fulham, Spurs play Burnley, Chelsea play Man United, Sheffield United play Liverpool, or Everton entertain Southampton. It is worth pointing out that the early kickoff between Manchester City and West Ham is not applicable for this contest. So Mark, looking at this week's fixtures, what stands out for you?
Before I get into what stands out, I'm after noticing 2 things looking at the fixtures. Number 1, it's my wife's birthday on Saturday, so she is not going to be happy when the West Brom Brighton team news drops and I need to get on Fan Team to finalise my lineups.
Brilliant.
So that's going to be a bit of a nightmare to navigate. And then I realised we're going to have to wait, 2 or 3 days? Oh no, I'm getting my dates wrong because it's February. I thought we were going to have to wait a couple of days for the last game, but no, it's the day after. I was going to say it was going to be a sweaty couple of days for people top of the leaderboard waiting, but at least it is the next day. In terms of fixtures, I quite like them actually this week. I think it'll make for quite a variety of teams.
Yeah, I think so.
The Chelsea Man United one stands out as me as one as don't know which way that's going to go. Possibly Leicester Arsenal as well. Then you've got the nicer ones, fancy Spurs at home to Burnley, even though Spurs haven't been great recently. I think Burnley have really been struggling. Liverpool, Sheffield United, expect Liverpool to win that one. And then you've got a couple of tasty ones, Leeds, Aston Villa, even West Brom, Brighton. That could go either way as well. So I think it should be a good tournament this week.
Yeah, I think it's. I think there's a few low-scoring affairs. So I think the Chelsea and United game, I think is, I think it's going to be quite a low-scoring game. I think United will take the game to Chelsea. Chelsea will just, hold
Defend
firm.
well.
So I think I've gone for a Chelsea defender actually in my team, but we'll look at that. Agree with you. Liverpool as well. For Sheffield United. Sheffield United, I think I've got 3 of their first choice centre backs out as well. Egan's out as well as of others. Liverpool have just got to turn it on soon, haven't they? I mean, they've been so awful for so long. They can't continue being this bad front of goal all the time. So I thoroughly expect Liverpool to take Sheffield United. I wouldn't say to take them apart, but I expect them to score 2 or 3 goals there minimum, especially after Sheffield United's recent results probably haven't been the best. They were being quite resolute more recently. They've shipped a few, haven't they? I think Everton and Southampton is an interesting one. I think if you'd have said that a couple of weeks ago, I think it would have been quite tight. But just looking, Southampton were good in the first half against Leeds, very poor in the second half and very open. I think they lost Romeo as well on the weekend. And Bednarak playing at right back is not, it's not doing them any favours. I fancy Everton to score a couple of goals in that one. Leicester Arsenal is a really good game. I tend to look at Arsenal these days and think they're going to be quite tight. Leicester playing well. Be interested to see how Leicester cope without Maddison. Obviously Harvey Barnes in particular has been playing really, really well. Vardy's back and scoring goals, but I do think Maddison has been the kind of key to that team in recent weeks. His balls, and he's got a lot of goals. He's got a lot of assists as well. I think that'll be an interesting game. And Newcastle and Wolves. I won't give any spoilers, but I know you fancy a team in that one.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. And Leeds and Villa. So Villa without Grealish are probably, I don't think they're awful by any stretch, but the way Leeds are playing, Leeds for me seem to go on these mini runs of playing really well and scoring lots of goals, and then they go off the boil for 3. It seems to be like almost like 3-3, and I'm hoping that Leeds are going off on a bit of a spurt now after winning this game week. Spurs and Burnley, I'm finding it really hard. And I want to ask your opinion on this actually, both because I'm really, really struggling on whether to bring in Kane in all fantasy formats, including this format. And Burnley for me, so Burnley's stats in the last 4 or 5 games defensively have not been that bad. Kane did take a lot of shots against West Ham last week, but they were chasing the game and and really going for it. I can't see Burnley going goal or 2 up. I'm really interested in your in your thoughts on Harry Kane this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Kane. I've been saying to a few people this week, I'm pretty high on Harry Kane fumes, and I don't know if I'm making rational decisions or not. But yeah, for a few weeks I've had the plan of bringing him in this week and triple captain him, and I'm probably 100% set on doing it. To be honest, I haven't bought him yet, but he'll come in for Danny Ings in FPL. Part of the reason, the volume shooter, he's getting lots of shots. So, in the 2 games, he'll start both. He'll get plenty of shots. So I think there's a good chance of a decent return. I don't mind if it's not a huge triple captaincy return, but, give me 2 goals over the 2 games. I'm very, very happy with that. He very often gets bonus points as well, which is a big factor. Penalties, of course. And I think a big factor for me as well is Burnley. I watched them against West Brom last week, against 10-man West Brom, and they were all over the place. So, if West Brom can, be pretty good against them, I fancy Spurs to get a couple of goals in that game. I think if Gareth Bale starts, which I think he will help Kane as well. So, yeah, I like the fixtures in the double game week. So I'm all in on Harry Kane this week.
Very interesting. So I've been kind of fighting against it, just kind of looking at Spurs performances, Spurs attacking stats, which haven't been good. I think in the last 6 games I saw a stat that they've got the 19th best XG in the league over the last 6 games. So obviously really, really poor. I think the XG was about 5 in the last, to score 5 goals in the last 6 games. They've only actually scored 4 goals in their last 6 as well. But I think the fact that Bale, as you say, and Reguilon is back as well, which I just, I do think makes a difference, because I think
that's just as big as Bale, I think. Yeah,
I think so. Reguilon's crossed in from the left. I think Kane has scored a couple of headers off Reguilon crosses as well. So I might have to swing back to him. We'll see on that. I think it's going to be a deadline sort of a decision there. So we've got your team for this week on screen there, Mark. So this is your entry for the Gameweek 26 weekly monster. Do you mind running through your team and your rationale?
Yeah, so usually when I'm building a monster team, I'm fixtures first. So I look at the fixtures, I pick out a team that I think is going to win. And I like double ups, particularly in attack. So that's what I've done here. You mentioned Leeds playing really well. I think it's a good time to be facing Aston Villa at the moment as well, without Cash and Grealish. Confidence is not as high as it was. I expect Leeds to win that one. So Rafinha, who is just such a good player, probably one of the first names I picked in this draft. And I'm putting Bamford in alongside him, just in the hope that both of them link up, goals and assists together. Same for West Brom. I like the fixture against Brighton, although Brighton are pretty good defensively in terms of stats and results as well. Every time I watch these two guys, I like them. It was the same against Burnley last week. Pereira and Diagne, they link up really well. So I like that double up. Pereira's probably got the penalties. I'm probably going to captain him, Pereira, in one of my teams, not this one. I just have a good feeling about him in that fixture. Then Spurs, like I said, I expect him to beat Burnley. So Kane goes in as an auto pick, and I expect Bale to start, given that he didn't start Europa League and he was very good off the bench last week. I think he scored Europa League as well. So it's about time Mourinho gave him a start. I think all of us fantasy managers want to see him on the pitch. So I'm going to take the punt on him as captain in this one. I don't think too many people will do that because of the chance that he doesn't start. I've got Kane as a vice if he doesn't anyway. Defensively then, Liverpool. The Liverpool picks were my last 2 picks because... and for budget reasons, I couldn't afford Trent or Robertson, who are obviously better options than Kabak. But I expect a clean sheet against Sheffield United. So Alisson goes in and Kabak. Then I've got the triple up. The only triple up is from Wolves. I think very often in the weekly monsters, straight away I look and I see who Newcastle are playing and I target them. So that's what I've done here. Go after a Wolves clean sheet. They're a good team defensively. They're better in the last couple of games than they have been. They went 9 or 10 games, I think, without a clean sheet. But I think they've got some key men back now and they're playing a little bit better. So Saiss, always a goal threat. Semedo at wing back, he can get attack and returns as well. And then Neto, again, Neto like Rafinha, just a really good player. Really enjoy watching him. He's always heavily involved in the Wolves goals as well. So yeah, that's one of my entries. So I quite like this one actually.
Yeah, just thinking at you, because it's so different to my entry. I looked at it first. I thought, wow, I think it's maybe the Wolves boys, but I nearly had the same actually. So I did have Neto, Semedo. I did put in Castro as well, because in previous seasons he's been very, very attacking. But I changed the defenders out just after a bit more thought, because I just think that while Wolves have been good, I think Newcastle again is kind of this. We're almost getting to the stage of the season now where teams like Sheffield United, West Brom, Newcastle are going to have to start trying to win games soon. And even though they may concede a few, I think they need to try and score. But there's nothing wrong with those picks. And Wolves' defensive stats have been really good over the last few weeks actually. I love the Pereira pick, so he's in my team. I'll touch on mine now. Neto and Rafinha, completely agree, and I do think that there'll be some big teams in for them in the summer. Not sure how old Rafinha is. I want to say about 23, but I know Neto's only 19 or 20 years old, but he looks absolutely superb, doesn't he? And I can see both of them getting a lot of interest from a lot of big teams all over Europe, in the summer as well. Bale captain. I mean, and this is what's brilliant about the fan team rules as well. If Bale doesn't start but comes on, the captaincy automatically stays on Kane, which I think is really, really good, and Bale get replaced by another player. So there's kind of zero risk there with Bale. But if he starts, as you say, it's a differential. He nearly scored a goal last week against West Ham. I don't know if you saw it, where he was kind of
amazing, hit the
skipping
crossbar
through all the defence and hit the bar. I mean, what a goal that would have been! It was absolutely superb. So So yeah, just moving on to my team then. So I've gone for Ramsdale in goal. I always go for a cheapie in goal. So obviously they're playing Liverpool. I expect Liverpool to win, but I expect Ramsdale to make a few saves at the same time. Just a bit of a budget pick there. I struggled to spend all the money this time for the first time in quite a while actually. So as I mentioned earlier, I do fancy Chelsea Man United to be a very tight affair. I've gone for Alonso because I think this week he's very cheap. I do think that it'll be. I personally think that the game will end 0-0 or close to 0-0. Personally, I think they'll both kind of count each other out. But Alonso, while as we know he's good for clean sheets because he's a defender. He's also very 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 attacking as well. So I'm happy to have him there. Gone for Luca Dean, Everton against them as well, and I've paired him up with Calvert-Lewin. So as I mentioned earlier, I do fancy Everton to do well against Southampton. Luca Dean, really good attacking threat. I think he's got an assist roughly in kind of 40% of the games he's played this season. So if he plays, he poses real threat there. And I've gone for Andy Robertson. So you couldn't afford Robertson. Obviously, I've gone for Ramsdale in goal, which is why I can afford him. But that was my money left over because of the budget players I picked in midfield. So I've also gone for Herrera, who I'm actually thinking of bringing into my main FanTeam season-long team this week. They've got 4 really, really good fixtures on the bounce. And as you've mentioned, he's on penalties. He's got a great relationship with Diagne up front. He's on corners, he's on free kicks. West Brom, as I mentioned earlier, are going to have to start scoring goals soon if they want to survive, and if they do, Pereira will be at the heart of it. Also gone for Neto. As you've mentioned, just looks a fantastic player. I've gone for Salah. So I just think as we mentioned earlier, I think that Liverpool sooner or later are just going to have their luck, or if you want to call it luck, part luck, part for whatever it is, will have to turn soon, and Salah will surely be a beneficiary. Sheffield United just haven't been good recently, and for my kind of wild card pick, I suppose in midfield, I've gone for Traore of Aston Villa, who he's scored a couple of goals in the last few weeks, whips in a really good set piece. And one thing we do know about Leeds, they score a lot of goals and they're fun to watch, but they do concede a lot of goals from corners, kicks and things. So I think that Traore is probably quite a decent shout in there. As I've mentioned, gone for Calvert-Lewin up front. He's currently got the armband, but this is why I like having a chat with you, and Ben and the others, because I do after our chat, it helps clear my mind a little bit, on all different options. And I've gone for Bamford as well. I agree. I think he'll do well this week. And I did have Vardy against Arsenal, but then I realised I can actually afford to upgrade to Kane. So Vardy's got a really good record against Arsenal, but as you've mentioned, I think in the last few games, Kane's average position, he's moved a lot more forward than he has been previously. He's played a much deeper role, which isn't good for him or good for fantasy. But now he's moved forward a bit. I think you're probably right there. But unsure who to put the captaincy on. I'll probably put a couple of entries in, and I will probably kind of mix it up. I may put one on Calvert-Lewin, maybe one on Kane, maybe one on Salah. But I do love your Bale wildcard pick. I think if that comes off, if Bale gets a goal and an assist as your captain, I think absolutely laughing. So yeah, really good shout there, Mark. Are there any players who didn't quite make the cut for you in your team?
Well, having looked at the fixtures and looking at your team now as well, I've said it before in these videos, I always like having a player or two in the last game. I don't have any Everton or Southampton at the moment, so that's something I might go back and change. I like Calvert-Lewin, I like Richarlison, but part of me as well likes going against the grain on the final day. Most people are sitting waiting for their Calvert-Lewins and their Luca Deans to come in for them.
And all they need is a Christian Benteke.
Exactly. So I like going against the grain.
Yeah.
I'm selling Danny Ings in FPL this week. So maybe I'll stick him in here as an insurance policy. And, he can wipe out the Luca Dean clean sheet. That's, I might end up selling Bamford in FPL as well for Calvert-Lewin for a hit. So if I do go through with that, 100% Bamford stays in my fan team as well. So
sure.
If I sell Ings and Bamford, those two guys are going to be the spearhead of my attack because I'll be ready for the punishment in FPL, selling them.
Good stuff. Yeah, and I really enjoy looking at your team because it's given me a few ideas there. Maybe on where I can downgrade one player, maybe upgrade the keeper or something along.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you. You said you struggled to spend the cash. Did you have any left over, or did you end up spending it all?
Once I'd upgraded Vardy to Kane, I think I got like 0.4 left, so I can't upgrade him much. But
yeah,
I did have Vardy instead of Kane, which I think I had like 3.5 million in the bank, so I could have seriously upgraded then. But I ended up getting Kane in the end.
I know it's good. The cheap keepers do pick up the save points, but I always feel if you're going for an attacker like Salah, you probably want to go with a different goalkeeper and just go after a clean sheet, because there will be other cheap goalkeepers who will make the saves but maybe have a better chance of a clean sheet than Ramsdale does. So that's just me personally. I don't like facing off my goalkeeper with my attackers in this.
That's something I need to learn. Coming from someone who's won the whole game,
But saying that, Ramsdale was my keeper, so
he was, yeah. But if I have him and Salah, it's either one or the other, right? And
maybe Salah's the one you need to lose.
Maybe Salah will score a hat trick, and then Ramsdale will save a penalty for him. I'd take that because then you get the points across the board. I think I'm probably hoping a little bit much there. Okay. So that is it from us for this episode. All the links are below for all the games we have discussed today. Don't forget, for this week, there's also that free entry to €7,500 tournament for new FanTeam users. Head to fanteam.com to register and play that tournament for free. Hopefully our team, especially Mark's, may have inspired you to play. It may have inspired you to have a look at some certain picks. It's certainly changed my mind on a couple of players. Kane now. I was all set on not bringing Kane into my FanTeam season long team or FPL team or anything else, but if the fact you're doing it with your record and you're 100% convinced,
join me and we can fail together.
But for me, it's a -8. This is the problem I've got, and it probably means taking out Son and Min as well. But
it's tricky when you have to lose Son, isn't it?
We can talk about that, I'm sure, offline. So thank you so much, Mark, for joining me this week, and we will have you on again very hopefully in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers, Andrew. Always enjoy these. Best of luck to yourself and to everyone who's taken part.
Very much. So remember that if you like what you watched, please click the like button and remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you're listening on the podcast, please rate the podcast. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you like, and leave a comment. So this podcast will be available as a video on the FanTeam YouTube channel and available as an audio version on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Just search for Official FanTeam Podcast. Our website is fanteam.com and our Twitter handles are at FanTeamOfficial and at FanTeam_UK. Give us a follow for regular game updates and for entry giveaways for lots of other FanTeam competitions. We will be back very soon, looking ahead to the Gameweek 27 Weekly Monster. The very, very best of luck. Gameweek 26. Goodbye for now.